At my sister's wedding, she pointed at me, screaming, "You drained Mom's account." I smiled, pulled out my phone, and played the security footage, her signing the receipt for a $5,800 dress and a $3,200 ice sculpture of herself. Mom stared in shock. Dad tried to defend her until I quietly transferred $17,000 to my account, cancelled her honeymoon, and froze her cards. Their faces went pale when I showed them the anonymous note. The air was thick with the scent of roses, laughter bubbling like champagne. Sarah's wedding looked like something ripped from a glossy magazine, fairy lights draped across the high ceiling, a string quartet whispering elegance in every note. Guests dressed in silver and gold moved like living jewelry around the room. I stood near the back by the service door, invisible but watching. It was better that way, no expectations, no forced smiles, just the quiet observation of a brother who knew his place in the family, a placeholder, a shadow. And then it happened. "You drained Mom's account." Sarah's voice was a jagged scream, slicing through the delicate waltz. Her manicured finger pointed at me, eyes wide and wild. Heads turned, whispers flickered like candle flames. Even the violinist hesitated, the strings dying in a ghostly tremor. I didn't move, didn't even blink, just looked at her, my sister, dressed in her $5,800 custom gown that glittered like a promise. Beside her stood an ice sculpture, an absurd life-sized version of herself, grinning and perfect. That monstrosity cost $3,200. I knew because I had seen the invoices. "Sarah, stop," Mom's voice wavered, panic already seeping into her features. Dad stepped forward, his face a mask of confusion and desperation. "I didn't touch a dime of Mom's money," I said calmly, reaching into my jacket pocket. "But I did keep an eye on it." And with a quiet, deliberate motion, I pulled out my phone. My thumb tapped the screen and the speakers in the hall crackled to life, security footage, the banquet hall's payment desk, a woman in a white dress leaning over, card in hand. Sarah. The date was clear, the amount even clearer, $5,800 for the dress, $3,200 for the ice sculpture. Mom's face paled. Dad stuttered something incoherent, a half-formed defense already crumbling in his throat. "Of course, she needed the best for her special day," I continued, voice steady, almost gentle. "But I didn't touch a cent of Mom's account. Sarah did." Sarah's face twisted, panic giving way to fury. "You set me up. You made this happen." I did nothing but watch, like always. I looked directly at my father. "But let's make it clear." I tapped the screen again. My banking app loaded. In seconds, I transferred $17,000 from the shared family account to my personal one. Another tap, Sarah's honeymoon reservations flashed on screen, cancelled. Her face drained of color. "One more thing," I said, and pulled out a simple folded note. "Anonymous," typed. "She planned to drain your account, too." The silence was a suffocating blanket. Mom's eyes filled with tears and Dad's anger wavered, cracking at the edges. My sister opened her mouth to scream again, but the room had already turned on her. Guests murmured, some pulling out their phones, recording the perfect fairy tale unraveling into a horror show. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, glanced at the ice sculpture of Sarah's grinning face, and for the first time in years, I smiled because they had no idea this was only the beginning. I was always their safety net, their backup plan, their endless wallet. Even when I didn't have much, I was the one who saved them. When Mom got sick with bronchitis, I paid for her medication even if it meant living on instant noodles. When my sister dropped out of yet another university, I paid for her new courses and even sent her money for textbooks. She mostly spent it on parties, but I stayed quiet. And Dad? He always knew how to make me feel guilty. When his business went under, I took out a loan in my name to help him. He promised to pay it back, never did. And whenever I mentioned it, he would grumble, "You're a man. You're supposed to support your family." For them, it was just the way things were. For me, it was a chain. It all started with a simple notification. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m., the harsh blue glow piercing the darkness of my tiny apartment. A message from my bank, suspicious transaction detected. I rubbed my eyes and opened the app, half awake. And there it was, $3,200 charged at a luxury decor store. My heart pounded. I never shopped there, but I knew who did. My sister. The next day, I called her. I tried to stay calm. Sarah, did you use my card? Oh, come on. It's for the wedding. Mom said you'd understand. Don't be so dramatic. Dramatic. I stared at the ceiling, trying to keep my voice steady. You didn't even ask me. She laughed. Why would I? You never say no. I hung up without another word, but that was just the beginning. A week later, Mom called, her voice a mix of sweetness and guilt. Honey, I need some money for my medication. It's really expensive this month. Sure, Mom. I transferred the money without question. But later that day, I saw her Facebook post a picture of her and Sarah laughing over cocktails at a rooftop bar. The caption read, "Celebrating my beautiful daughter's upcoming wedding." Medication, sure. But the final blow came from Dad. Hey, I had to take a loan in your name. Just a small one. Business expenses, you know. Dad, you didn't even tell me. Don't be so sensitive. You're a man. You'll make it back. We're family. Family, a word they used when it was convenient, not when it meant something. Then came the public humiliation. It was the family group chat, the place where Mom sent corny memes and Dad shared bad jokes. But today it was different. Dad posted a picture of me from last Christmas, holding a cheap sweater they gave me, the one that didn't even fit. His caption, "Look at this hero. Always trying, never succeeding." The comments followed fast. He's just too sensitive. Aunt Carol. Maybe one day he'll learn how to handle money. Uncle Rob. Still living in that tiny apartment, huh? Cousin Megan. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. I just watched, letting every word sink like a knife. But then I found out the truth. It came from the last person I expected, Sophie, my sister's best friend. We hadn't spoken in months, but she messaged me out of nowhere. Can we talk, please? We met at a quiet cafe. Sophie looked nervous, twisting the straw in her iced coffee. Finally, she looked up. I'm tired of watching her use you. You deserve to know. And she showed me everything. Screenshots of her messages with Sarah. Sarah, I'm using Mom's and his money for the wedding. He'll never notice. Sophie, don't you think that's wrong? Sarah, please. He's a pushover. And if he makes a scene, I'll just say he stole from Mom. Voice messages where Sarah laughed about her plan. If anything goes wrong, I'll just tell everyone he drained Mom's account. They'll believe me. They always do. I leaned back, feeling the cold rage settling in my chest. Sophie reached across the table, her hand covering mine. I always liked you. I didn't know how to tell you. Her touch was warm, but my thoughts were ice. My sister had planned it all to use me. And suddenly, I wasn't just angry. I was ready. Ready to let everything collapse on its own. The day of the wedding was perfect. Too perfect. White roses lined the aisles. Crystal chandeliers scattered soft light across the ballroom. And a gentle waltz whispered from the string quartet. Guests in shimmering gowns and tailored suits moved like glittering shadows, a picture-perfect fairy tale. And at the center of it all was Sarah, my sister, radiant in her $5,800 gown. Her smile wide, her laughter loud. She was the star, the princess. I was just the ghost in the corner, invisible, watching, waiting. But tonight, I wasn't just a spectator. You sure about this? Sophie whispered beside me, her fingers trembling slightly as she gripped her clutch. She looked stunning in a deep blue dress, but her face was pale. I'm sure, I whispered back, never taking my eyes off the crowd. Across the room, Sarah was laughing with her friends, holding her champagne glass like a trophy. Mom stood by her, beaming with pride. Dad was shaking hands, telling stories, all of them oblivious. Oblivious to the storm about to crash down. They wanted me to sit at the back. A better view, they said. I didn't argue. It was easier to watch them this way. Sarah took the microphone, her voice sugary sweet. I just want to thank everyone for being here, for supporting us, for always being there for me. Her gaze swept over the crowd and then landed on me, a smile so fake it hurt to look at. And to my dear brother, who has always been supportive dash. Polite laughter. I didn't even flinch. Supportive. A word that sounded like a compliment but tasted like poison. She kept going, her speech dripping with false gratitude. Her friends cheering. Even Dad wiped a fake tear from his eye. They thought this was her fairy tale ending. Time to shatter the glass slipper. I stood up calm, controlled, my voice clear. Actually, I'd like to say a few words, too. A murmur rippled through the room. Sarah's smile wavered. Of course, she chirped, but I could see the panic creeping into her eyes. I stepped forward, pulling my phone from my pocket. Family is everything, isn't it? I began. We trust them. We support them. But what happens when family decides you're just a tool? I tapped the screen and the speakers crackled. A voice filled the room, Sarah's voice. If anything goes wrong, I'll just tell everyone he drained Mom's account. They'll believe me. They always do. The room fell silent, a silence so thick it seemed to swallow the air. Sarah's face went white. This is out of context, she shrieked, her voice cracking. Really? I tapped again. The projector behind me lit up and a screenshot appeared, a chat window, her messages with Sophie. Sarah, I'm using Mom's and his money for the wedding. He'll never notice. Sophie, don't you think that's wrong? Sarah, please. He's a pushover. Guests began whispering, some pulling out their phones. Mom's hand went near her mouth, her face as pale as the tablecloth. Stop it. You're ruining everything. Sarah screamed, stumbling forward. No, Sarah, I said calmly. You ruined everything. Another tap. My banking app. The screen mirrored on the projector. Transaction after transaction, flowers, decorations, catering all charged to Mom's account, and a few to mine. $12,500. I turned to Dad. That's how much she spent. But that's not all. I tapped again. The guest list popped up, a highlighted name, Sophie. My voice steady. Sarah even planned to frame me if she got caught. Dad's face twisted in rage. This is a lie. She's your sister. No, Dad. She never really saw me as family, just as a resource to be used. Mom staggered back, her hand clutching her chest. But your family. Family? I laughed, cold and sharp. A family that only remembers me when they need money. A family that steals, lies, and then blames me. Sarah's voice rose, desperate. He's lying. He's always been jealous of me. Jealous? I let out a bitter chuckle. Of what? A sister who used our mother's money to buy an ice sculpture of herself. A few guests gasped. Murmurs grew louder. Cameras flashed, some were already recording. Stop recording. Sarah screamed. Stop. Too late. Sarah. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a folded note. I unfolded it and read aloud. She planned to drain your account, too. I held it up. An anonymous tip. But now everyone knows. My fingers moved swiftly over my phone. The banking app glowed and, with a single tap, I recovered the $17,000 she had spent without permission. Another tap, her honeymoon reservations popped up, cancelled. What are you doing? Sarah shrieked, stumbling back. I'm reversing the damage, I replied, calm as ice. And making sure you don't get a cent more. Dad lunged forward, but Sophie stepped between us. Don't touch him, she shouted. You. Sarah spat, her eyes wild. You did this. You were always jealous, too. Sophie didn't even flinch. No, Sarah. I was your friend until I realized you don't have friends. Only people you use. The room was chaos. Guests arguing, some leaving, some filming. Mom sank into a chair, sobbing. Dad turned on me, his face twisted with rage. You ungrateful dash. Ungrateful. I cut him off, my voice sharp. I paid your debts. I covered your mistakes. I saved this family again and again, but no more. I stepped back, looking directly at Sarah, her perfect world crumbling around her. I'm done. And without another word, I turned and walked away, the doors swinging shut behind me. Sophie was by my side, her hand finding mine. The music had stopped, but the chaos inside that was just beginning. I thought I'd feel free walking out of that wedding, leaving the chaos and their screams behind. But freedom didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Sophie stayed with me that night. We didn't talk much, just sat in my tiny apartment, 2 glasses of wine untouched on the table, her hand resting on mine, a quiet anchor. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I didn't feel proud. I felt empty, but that emptiness didn't last. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications, messages from Mom, desperate and tearful. Mom, you destroyed your sister. How could you? Dad, you think you're a hero? You're a disgrace. Mom, come back and apologize. Fix this. But nothing from Sarah. Not a single word. Her perfect fairy tale had shattered and she vanished into the silence. No posts, no stories, just gone. For days, I ignored them all. Spent time with Sophie. She tried to cheer me up, movie nights, long walks, that soft smile of hers that always made my chest feel lighter. But then, one rainy evening, my phone buzzed with a new notification. $17,000 transferred to your account. My heart stopped. I checked again. It was real. My account balance had grown by $17,000. And then another notification, another $3,200. All the money she stole, every cent. I didn't understand. I tried to call Sarah, but the number was disconnected. I texted Mom, no reply. Dad, nothing. And then Sophie's phone buzzed. A message from a mutual friend. Did you hear? Sarah's husband paid off all her debts. Took out a loan. He's broke now. I stared at Sophie, my mind racing. He did what? Her eyes widened. Wait. She made him pay for everything. I pieced it together. After the wedding disaster, her husband must have threatened to leave. And Sarah, the master manipulator, must have turned on her tears, her charm, promised to fix everything to make it right. And he loved her enough to believe her. He sold his car, took a loan, paid off everything she owed to me, to Mom, covered her shame, and now he was in debt for her. I didn't know whether to laugh or feel sorry for him. But one thing was clear. Sarah had once again used someone else. Only this time, she used the man who loved her. But the mystery of the anonymous note still gnawed at me. Who had warned me, who had tipped me off? I found out a week later in the most unexpected way. I was at the grocery store when I saw her Aunt Margaret. She was pushing a cart, humming quietly to herself. I almost walked past her, but something made me stop. Margaret? She looked up, surprise flickering across her face. Oh, darling. She smiled. Hello. It was awkward. We hadn't spoken in years. She was always the quiet one at family gatherings, the one who sat in the corner watching, listening. I need to thank you, I said, stepping closer for the note. Her expression didn't change. She looked at me for a long moment, then sighed. I wondered when you'd figure it out. But why? Margaret's lips curled into a sad smile. I've watched your mother and father enable your sister for years. I've watched them use you, lie to you. But I stayed silent because I thought it wasn't my place. Then why now? She reached into her purse, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and handed it to me. It was a screenshot, a text conversation between Sarah and Sophie. Sarah asterisk, don't worry. I'll just say he stole it. Everyone will believe me. Sophie asterisk, but he's your brother. Sarah asterisk, he doesn't matter. I can always get more from him. I saw this on Sophie's phone at a family dinner. Your mother was laughing with Sarah, talking about the wedding, and I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Margaret leaned closer, her voice low. Your mother always knew, but she looked the other way. Your father, he's just a coward. But you deserve to know. I stood there, frozen. My own mother knew. She knew Sarah was lying, manipulating, but she chose to protect her. She's not just your sister, Margaret whispered, bitterness lacing her words. She's their perfect little princess. And you were just the backup plan. My hands trembled. Anger, betrayal, they crashed over me like a wave. But Margaret's voice cut through the chaos. Don't waste your life fighting them. They don't deserve it. Live your own life. Be free. I left the store feeling something I hadn't felt in years, not just anger, not just betrayal. Clarity. The next day, my family tried to twist the narrative. Mom posted a long, rambling status on Facebook. Sometimes family is the cruelest. My son humiliated his own sister on the most important day of her life. I don't know how we raised someone so here, Tess. Dad added a comment. Ungrateful. That's all he's ever been. But I didn't respond. Instead, I did something else. I compiled everything: screenshots of Sarah's texts, her voice messages, proof of her stealing money, the truth about her husband's debt. And I posted it not as a rant, not as a confession, but as a story. This is what family looks like when you're only useful until you're empty. This is what happens when you finally fight back. The post went viral. Hundreds of comments poured in. Strangers shared their own stories. Support flooded my inbox, messages from people saying they've been used too. Sarah's perfect image shattered. Mom tried to deny it, but the evidence was too clear. Even some of my relatives reached out, apologizing, admitting they never knew the full story. But the best message came from Sophie. I'm proud of you, and I think I might be falling for you. I stared at the message, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their love. I didn't need their lies. I had Sophie. I had the truth. And I was free. Sophie stood by the kitchen window, her soft laughter filling the tiny apartment. Sunlight danced across her hair, and for the first time in years, I felt calm. I had peace until my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I'm sorry. I was horrible. I ruined everything. I need help. Ara. I stared at the screen, the words blurring. After everything, the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal, now she wanted forgiveness. Sophie looked up. Who is it? Sarah, I muttered. Her gentle touch found my hand. Are you going to answer? I don't know, I said. But I did. We met at a cramped cafe. Rain streaked the windows, gray and cold. Sarah looked nothing like the perfect bride from her wedding. Her hair was tangled, eyes red-rimmed, her confident smile gone. He left me, she whispered, twisting a napkin in her trembling fingers. He found out about the debts, the lies. He walked out. Her voice cracked. I have nothing. No one. I leaned back, my gaze steady. You thought I'd care. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I was horrible. I know that. But you're my brother. Please, just a few thousand. Enough to start over. Sophie's hand slipped into mine, warm and steady. I didn't take my eyes off Sarah. You want me to save you again? I asked. After you lied, stole, and tried to blame me? I've changed, she cried. I'm sorry. No, I said firmly. You're just desperate. Her face twisted with panic. I swear I'll pay you back. No, Sarah. I'm done being your safety net. Her voice rose, sharp and frantic. You can't just walk away. You're my brother. I stood up. Family is supposed to protect, not destroy. But you never understood that. She sobbed, clutching the table. Please don't leave me like this. But I did. Sophie's hand in mine, we stepped out into the rain, leaving her behind. Back home, I stood on the balcony, rain tapping against the glass. Sophie leaned against me, her head on my shoulder. I always thought freedom was proving them wrong, I whispered. No, she murmured. It's letting them go. I thought of Mom, who always looked away. Dad, who blamed me. Sarah, who twisted love into control. But now they were just ghosts. I'm not guilty for being used, but I'm done being a tool. Sophie smiled, her fingers tightening around mine. And I'm proud of you.